So again, welcome back to second session. And now we are going to deal with the topic of thermal expansion. Previous case, we dealt with change in dimensions because of force and stress. Now the dimension can change also because of temperature. And we know that I think all of us have a basic understanding. With the increase in temperature, most of the objects expand. Let's see, do in a more structured way, what does the thermal expansion mean? See, we define some term as coefficient of linear expansion. And every time when we define, we need to define parameters which are define the property of the material. So when we have alpha here is change in length or unit length or unit change in temperature. If we change in length per unit change in temperature. So if we suppose we take for copper, if we have different pieces of copper and different lengths of copper wire or copper rod, all are subjected to different change in temperature. When we calculate this ratio, it comes out to be same. That becomes the property of the material. And that's what so this expression, and here if I notice here, so and which makes sense, we can write the same expression in different way. What does this indicate? This indicates change in length. What is change in length equal to? It's equal to L alpha delta theta, which makes much easier sense here. Change in length is equal to original length multiplied by coefficient of linear expansion, and is also proportional to change in temperature. This is proportional to length, proportional to change in temperature. So if change in temperature is twice as much, change in length also becomes double. So this is something I have written for small changes. This is small changes, and notice we have come across a similar expression, very similar expression somewhere else also. Very similar expression we also had in case of change in resistance with temperature. Exactly same. So we are also discussing many things here. Use of formula or application of formula is almost identical to change in resistance with temperature. And mostly it is use of this. Okay, and when we write here, this is something we written in form of DL here. But this I can from for small changes. Delta L can be written as alpha L naught delta theta. When I can write as delta L here. For to write delta L, first of all, alpha has to remain constant. And second thing here, you notice here, what is this delta L here? See, actually, as this also should have written as d theta here. What you notice here, this is small d theta here. Alpha is the property of material. Assume that alpha is constant. This d theta will not have an effect. For use delta here, even this L also has to be constant. How can I treat this L to be constant? If as with temperature changes, if the length of the object does not change significantly, if we assume the final length to be almost same as initial length, then only I can treat L as constant. So only when change in length is small, I can treat final length as original length. I can write this expression. For small changes in length, delta is equal to change in length is equal to alpha into L naught delta theta, not d theta. And if this is change in length, what is the final length? Final length is original length plus change in length. I can write in the same form. I think easiest to remember, dl is equal to L alpha delta theta. And when change in length is small, which is mostly the case here, it becomes delta L. And final length becomes equal to original length L naught plus change in length. Change in length is equal to L naught alpha delta theta. We take it common. That's a simple expression. But in case of isotropic material, what is isotropic material? Which properties are same in all directions. So any object which is heated, it is not every object. Wire may be a linear dimension, but if you have a plate or if you have block, so all linear dimensions change in the same proportion. So whatever proportional change is same. Change in length may be different, but fractally change is same. So let's understand what it means here. Suppose we have a metal plate here. It has some length here, some width here. It also has a circular hole here. And this hole is at a certain distance from the boundary. So these are the various distances which are mentioned here. Linear, all distances are linear mentioned. And if we heat this piece of plate here, which has a hole in between, all four dimensions will change. But when we calculate fractional change in all dimensions fractional change will come same. So it means if A has increased by 1%, width of the plate also become increased by 1%. In fact, the whole size also will increase by 1%. and its distance from the edge also increase by 1%. All linear dimension. So whenever thermal expansion takes place, when temperature is increased, it is equivalent to looking at the same figure with a magnifying glass, which is magnifying the whole thing by a proportion given by alpha delta theta. That's a fractional change in all linear dimensions. So not only that, hole also changes, hole's distance changes. We can take one more example. And reason is very simple. Had this plate been, this is suppose the hole was not there. If I have just marked a circular shape on the, I have drawn a circle on the plate. When I hit the plate here, the size of the circle would have increased here. So whether this circular piece is there in the plate or not there, the whole area of basically size of hole also will change in a similar proportion. If we have another ring also, this ring which has a small gap here, and you can have, what are the linear parameters I can define? It has a perimeter, it has certain radius, and it has small gap d here. So here also we increase in change in, if we change the temperature, all three parameters will change in the same proportion. Perimeter and radius is very easy to understand. Parameters is linearly related to radius, and even this gap also will increase in the same proportion. The way you can understand is, suppose this gap was not there. Suppose this is a complete ring here, and I have put a mark here, put some marking here. I have marked this end and this. So when I increase the temperature, every piece of the ring also will increase, and so will this part also. So change in the dimension between two parts here, whether this central piece of the ring is there or not there, it will behave in a similar fashion. This gap also will increase. And when we take something like a plate, the plate has, unlike linear dimension, it has two linear dimensions. So let's take a plate here at a temperature T1. One side was A and this side is B here. And we assume, let's say this dimension, the coefficient of linear expansion is alpha 1. And let's assume it is not equal also. This alpha 1, this is alpha 2. So this both, when we change temperature from, we increase the temperature by delta T here. So in that case, this dimension will change, and this will change based on coefficient of linear expansion alpha 1. It will become A into 1 plus alpha 1 delta theta, similar to this expression, and width also will change. And what is the change in area? Change in area also, see, it's very easy to arrive at. Area is equal to A into B, and all changes are small. For small changes, I can always write fractional change in area is equal to fractional change in A plus fractional change in B, and fractional change is equal to alpha times change in temperature, and this is for this term and this term. So this is expression we get here, and if I combine those two, so what we get here, delta A is equal to alpha 1 plus alpha 2 delta theta. This expression is very similar to the previous one. Only thing, this whole term I can replace with a term called beta here. Beta is coefficient of areal expansion. And what is coefficient of areal expansion? Is equal to alpha 1 plus alpha 2. Coefficient of linear expansion in one direction and coefficient of linear expansion in other direction is sum of those two. If material is isotropic, if it has same property, alpha 1 and alpha 2 both will be equal to alpha and becomes twice the alpha. So coefficient of areal expansion is twice the linear expansion, as long as change in dimensions is small. It has come from this expression. Here, when we assume all the cases changes are small. Similar way, when we talk about volumetric change, suppose it has 3 dimensions, we could have written similar expression. Change in volume would have come something like this. The entire term can be replaced with gamma here, and this expression, all cases are very similar. Delta L is equal to alpha L delta theta. Area is equal to initial area into beta into delta theta, and volume also initial volume into gamma into delta theta. Coefficient of linear expansion, coefficient of areal expansion, coefficient of volumetric expansion. Volumetric expansion is the sum of 3 linear expansion, and if it is isotropic material, and reason I have given like this, they may also give you a question which material may not be isotropic. So in that case, what will the value of areal expansion and volume expansion? Very easily we can calculate in a similar fashion. Okay, so this is okay. So this changes here. So when volume changes, we have done one question in previous session also. When volume changes, density also will change. Density is related to volume. Density is equal to mass by volume here. and mass does not change when you heat it up. Only these two quantities change, and delta P by delta rho by rho is equal to minus delta V by V. And what is delta V by V? I can write from delta V by V. Delta V by V is equal to gamma delta theta. So this becomes minus gamma delta theta. So delta rho by rho is minus gamma delta theta. Or I could have also written something similar. The way you written L is equal to L naught 1 plus alpha delta theta. We could have written that also. What is rho? Rho can be written as rho naught 1 minus gamma delta. Unlike other cases, all cases it increases with increase in temperature. This the only one decreases with increase in temperature. Okay, and that's a coefficient of volumetric expansion. There's something called coefficient of apparent volume expansion. Let's understand what is coefficient of apparent volume expansion. There are two ways we can understand. One way of visualizing this is there's a container of volume V. So this is a container which has volume V. It is completely filled with liquid of volume. Water both have, it is completely filled with this water volume the container has, liquid volume is same. And if we heat it up, this container is heated and we heat it uniformly. It means all content is heated slowly so that all parts of the liquid as well as container had the same temperature at given instance of time. When we heat it up, volume of container will increase. Volume of container will become V plus gamma C into delta theta. And some of you may think why it is empty container, why is the volume increasing? So in container also we have when we have to visualize the container as three parts. This is the base of the container. When we increase when we heat the container, this length also will increase. This also will increase. There will be areal increase in the cross-section area of the container, and height of container also will increase. All three dimensions are changing. Hence, whether it is a solid object or it is a hollow object. So if both will have same volumetric expansion. So volume of container will become what is gamma C here? Gamma C is coefficient of volumetric expansion of container material. And liquid also will expand, and for that it is gamma L. Both will have a different value. When increase, both may have, if these two values of gamma be unequal, they may have unequal volumetric expansion. So let's assume here, so what we find here, when you heat it up, we find some of the liquid has overflow. And this is the volume which is collected outside. So when the liquid overflows, it appears as if whatever liquid which is overflowed, that's the increase in volume. That's the apparent increase in volume, the volume which has overflowed. And what is the overflown volume here? Overflown volume is nothing but final volume of the liquid minus final volume of the container. So it will overflow only when gamma L is greater than gamma C. Liquid expands more than container, then only it will overflow. And what is delta V? Its apparent increase in volume will be equal to V into gamma L minus gamma C into delta theta. And if I compare my standard equation, what has happened in terms of gamma here, this term has come. And this is not a real volumetric expansion, it is apparent volumetric expansion. And this is because of there is an expansion in the container also. And why you call it apparent, just try and visualize here. So I have also taken a figure of something like it. This is a measuring can here. And fill up this liquid to a level of 500 cc. Up to which level? Up to this level, I fill up the liquid here. Okay. So if I look at the container, I read the reading as 500 cc. And when I heat it up, when I heat the container also, and I heat the liquid also, which is inside. When the liquid, the container also will expand. And if I find the liquid level has still remained 500, does it mean the container liquid has not expanded? No, if the liquid level remains 500, it means the liquid also increase in volume of the liquid is same as increase in the volume of the container up to this level. Okay, so if liquid level rises, the rise in liquid level will be only when expansion of the liquid is greater than the container volume. And the level may fall also on the increase in temperature. What will make the level of liquid inside the container to fall, even though the temperature is increased? Increase in volume of the container is greater than increase in volume of the liquid. So when we measure initial volume and final volume in a container, and based on that we calculate what is the coefficient of volumetric expansion. That's not the real coefficient of volumetric expansion. That's the apparent coefficient of volume expansion. And what is that equal to? That is equal to gamma L minus gamma C. Very simple thing. So on increase in, when gamma L is equal to, gamma L is less than gamma C, on increase in temperature, the liquid level and container will decrease. It will give an impression that volume has decreased and it will have negative coefficient of volumetric expansion. Okay. So we'll come to some applications of linear expansion. And one of the common thing in expansion is effect of change in temperature on a scale. Suppose we very commonly use a metal scale and we measure a length. Suppose we have some object here, and this how we measure. We keep this one, and when I look at this here, so I from here very easily I can measure each division is 1 mm. So I will find the length is equal to 50 mm here. Each division. Why is length 50 mm here? This length is 50 times the unit length. So that's how we measure. Measured length is what? Measured length is equal to actual length of the object. This is the actual length of the object divided by actual length of one division of the scale. One is it is 50 times of one division on the marking. That's why it is 50 mm. And let's understand what happens with the change in temperature. As temperature changes, so this is the true reading, and every scale there's something called as calibration temperature. So marking of the scale has been done at a particular temperature, and that temperature is called calibration temperature, say something like 20 degrees centigrade. But if the temperature increases, the length of the scale also will change. When the length of the scale changes, the length of the one division also will change, and measured length also will change. So if I increase if the temperature changes, measured length will not be the correct length. As delta T changes from the temperature, so delta T indicates change of temperature from calibration temperature. Calibration temperature is temperature at which the marking has been done. It measures true value or true length only at calibration temperature. Any temperature which is different from calibration temperature, if this scale expands or contracts, measured length is not same as actual length. So let's see this one. I have given exaggerated view. So this, when the temperature has increased by delta theta, you notice it has expanded. And same object, when I measure here, when it is length has changed here, I find the length is not 50 mm. Now the length has become something like 45 mm. Why it has become 45 mm? This 45 mm, what is this measured length? This measured length is equal to real length of object divided by length of each division. Now each division has become longer. When the division becomes longer, measured distance becomes smaller. That's the reason. And if I have to apply here, so what was 1 mm here earlier? Now 1 mm has become 1 plus alpha s into delta theta, delta t here. What is alpha s here? Alpha is coefficient of linear expansion of the material of the scale. So here, so if you understand this figure here, see, because of increase in temperature, one division has become longer. And one division becomes longer, the measured distance becomes shorter. This is the reason. And many times feels counterintuitive, but this is how it happens here. When the scale is elongated, measured distance is less than actual. And a similar thing happens in case of pendulum, which is used to measure time. Other than these days, you have digital watches. In the past, for many centuries, people used to use pendulum for measurement of time. And then basically, how do we call something called as seconds pendulum? What is a second pendulum? Second pendulum is something, see, suppose we have a pendulum here. Let's understand what is seconds pendulum. The second pendulum, sometimes the question they may use the wording of pendulum. See, any pendulum is something like this, and pendulum has a particular time period. In some old watches, you may see pendulum kind of thing. So, second pendulums has a time period of 2 seconds. It means from one extreme to other extreme, it takes 1 second. For one swing, 1 second. One side 1 second, one side 1 second. So how do you measure time? Each half swing is 1 second. So number of seconds measured is equal to number of half swing. It has made 100 half swings. It means it measures the time is equal to 100 seconds. So that's how the pendulum is, and the time period depends on length. See, so this is how a second pendulum is. And this second pendulum, again, it has been set at a particular temperature. And we call this is calibration temperature. Now, if this summer, if the temperature changes, and this has some metal wire, pendulum also will have some string here, the length of the string will change. If the length of the string changes, the time it takes to complete half a swing will change. So actual duration will it takes for half a swing will change, and measure time also will change. So let's understand what will happen here. Second pendulum has time period t is equal to 2 pi by root Lg. Here also the time period of pendulum changes with change in length. What is the relationship for small changes? We use it many times. Fractional change in time period is equal to half the fractional change in length, and fractional change in length is equal to alpha into delta theta. Since T is involved, that's why temperature I'm using theta term here. So this is what the change will be. So this is fractional change in time will be equal to this. So based on this, if this time period changes, measure time also will change. Let's try and understand similar to this level. So very similar what happens here. Here what we notice, as the length of one division increases, measured distance becomes less. Here also, as the time period increases, measured time becomes less. Let's try and understand why. If the pendulum time period, well, basically half swing, increases to 1.1 second. So earlier it was 1 second. Now it has become 1.1 second. What is the effect of 1 second per second? So when it's 1.1 second means it completes one swing in 1.1 second. One swing we count as 1 second, but when we measures 1 second, actual duration had been 1.1 second. The actual duration of 1.1 second, it will measure as actually 1 second. That's what the duration is. So what is measure time? Very similar to previous case. Measure time t, how many seconds have passed, is actual time divided by actual duration of 1 second by watch. What is the t value? So here also they measured by one division. Here what is the, as the t value changes, half a swing it takes a different time. So how do you measure time? Time is taken for half a swing, it is proportional to t. So t is inversely proportional to time period of pendulum. So delta t by t is equal to minus delta capital T by capital T. This is measure time. This is error in time measure. This is the duration of time measure. This is the time period, and this is change in time period due to change in temperature. What is delta T by T is equal to minus 1 by 2 alpha delta theta. So what is fractional change in, what is fractional error in time error measured? Fractional error in time measured is equal to fractional change in time period, negative of that because it is comes in the denominator, and that is equal to minus 1 by 2 alpha delta theta. That's all we need to know in this case. Okay, so let's again to get an intuitive feel. In summertime the period will become more. Let's see. So say in 100 seconds in calibration temperature, when actual duration of 100 seconds, 1000 seconds, it used to complete 1000 half swings. And that's why to complete 1000 half swings, actual duration 1000 seconds, it completes 1000 half swings. Measured time also is 1000 seconds at the calibration temperature. What happens in summer? In summer we find in it takes little more time. L becomes more, so it will take little more time to complete a half swing. If it takes more time in 1000 seconds, it will not complete 1000 half swings. It will complete, say it completes 999 half swing. What does it mean? Actual duration of 1000 seconds will be measured as 999 seconds by this watch. Notice, so as the time period becomes more, the measured times becomes less. What is in this example? What is delta t in this case here? Delta t is equal to minus 1 second. This is error measurement time t. What is t here? Time measured. What is the time measured in this case? We have measured actual time of 1000. That's what you need to understand. So t and delta t, so duration of time measured, and what is the error which have happened in time measured, similar to delta L by L. Let's look at some simple application of the same here. So two rods A and B of identical dimension are at temperature of 30 degree. If A is heated to 180 degree and B up to 2 degrees centigrade, then the new lengths are same. Initial length also same at 30 degree, and when they are heated to, one is 180, B is 2 degree, new lengths are same. What is the ratio of coefficient of linear expansion in, if the coefficient of linear expansion is given 4:3, what is the value of T we need to find? These are very simple question, and you notice most of the question which are coming is very easy ones. So equal expansion, basically final length becomes same, so only key point I need to apply, expansions are equal. So what is expansion of A? If expansion of A is equal to coefficient of linear expansion of A, initial length is equal to L naught, and this also is L naught. Okay, and into change in temperature. What is change in temperature for A? Change in temperature from 30 to 180. So delta theta is 150 here. For B also change in length is same. So same delta L. Initial length also same. Only alpha beta is different. But here increase in temperature is from 30 to T. So delta change in temperature is T minus 30. If I take the ratio, A alpha B ratio is given, easily you can find the value of T. Very, very simple question. Okay. Second question is something like this: if coefficient of linear expansion, and this kind of question we've done multiple times, integration kind of question. Coefficient of linear expansion, non-homogeneous rod changes linearly from alpha 1 to alpha 2. So for one and to other, what is the effective alpha of the rod? And this kind of question, it comes in multiple topics. Let's see that one. So what does effective alpha means? Effective alpha means here, if delta L of a rod of length L, if I change the temperature by delta theta of rod length L, if change in length is delta L, what we need to find, what is the value of constant value of alpha, which will produce same change in length for same change in temperature. So with the varying alpha, for given change in temperature, whatever delta L we get, for constant alpha also, for same change in temperature, I should get same delta L. That's what this concept of equivalent is, and it's very simple. Let's understand what it means. So let's take, in this case, let's take a rod of length L, and we can call one point as x is equal to 0, other point becomes x is equal to L, and here this part coefficient of linear expansion is alpha 1, and this is alpha 2. So we can visualize, we just assume, it doesn't matter which one is greater. So let's assume alpha 2 is greater than alpha 1. So since alpha is varying, and we know how do we calculate change in length, dl, change in length is equal to alpha into L into delta theta here. So this is change in length, how we calculate here. Since alpha is varying as x, I need to divide this rod into random small pieces, and I'll pick up one small piece. Which piece we take? X is equal to 0, and x of length dx here. What is change in length for a small piece which is at a distance x from this end? All I need to write alpha as a function of x. Alpha is varying linearly, so it is something like this. I can visualize linear variation. If this is x and this is alpha, it is varying from alpha 1 to alpha 2. Can we find alpha as a function? Yes, y is equal to mx equation. Alpha x is equal to, it comes very simply. I can write as a slope is equal to alpha 2 minus alpha 1 by L into x. So I get an alpha x here. And after getting alpha x, I calculate change in length. Change in length is equal to dx into alpha x into delta theta. I calculate total change in length and equate it to, so I find delta L and I equate delta L to L alpha equivalent delta theta. It gives me equivalent alpha here. Another question, if a coefficient of thermal expansion of a rod is temperature dependent. Here also alpha is not constant. Whenever alpha is not constant, again we need to take a small element. Dependent as this, is degree centigrade. If length of the rod is at 0 degree centigrade, then temperature will become equal to 2L. That's what we need to calculate. At what temperature, if length is L at 0 degree, at what temperature the length will become double, and alpha is not constant. And anyway, even if it was constant also, I could not have used the formula delta L is equal to, as the change in length delta L is significant compared to original length. The approximation in this case, delta L is equal to L alpha delta theta. Even if alpha was constant also was not valid. Okay. So which one we need to go for? We need to go for small element. Delta L is equal to alpha d theta. Whenever it is not uniform, this is what we need to use here. And this is something, it happens in multiple topics, and we should have understood by now. Okay. So here DL is equal to L alpha delta theta. That's what we need to use here. And what is the expression we get here? DL is equal to, let's write this expression. DL is equal to L, and alpha is equal to AT dP. The alpha is a function of t. So very simple here, and once we get this expression, it's very easy to obtain. It becomes equal to dl by L is equal to alpha t dt. And what we need to calculate here, which are the two things which are relevant here? At 0 degree, length is L. We need to find t when length becomes 2. Very simple integration, and we get an answer here. Okay, this question, a pendulum clock keeps correct time at 0 degree centigrade. We can say 0 degree centigrade is a calibration temperature. At a temperature higher, L will become more and time period will become more, and hence measured time will be less. Delta T will be negative. So let's do that one. So in this case, it keeps correct time 0 degree. Coefficient of linear expansion alpha is given. Then loss of seconds per day by the clock if temperature rises by T degree centigrade. Let's see, this is based on, so every time I see a clock question, delta T by T. Delta T indicates here error in measurement of time. T is the time measured is equal to minus delta T by T, time period. This ratio, whether this ratio is an intermediate value, we don't use it. Actually, this I write here only to understand where from how do we get this expression. From delta T by T, I get this expression, and this is the relationship we use. This is how these two are related with temperature. Let's write now this expression is very simple one. So actual duration measured in a day, T value here. What is duration? We are calculating delta T for what value of time interval in terms of second for per day here. So T in second is 24 into 3600. And if I substitute T is equal to this value here, I get the delta T here. And in this case, what we noted, negative delta T. So negative means what? So actual duration may be say, when measured time is less, we know that sometimes you use the word, the watch is fast. In 12 hours, if the watch shows 12 hours, 2 minutes, it means delta T is plus 2 minutes. In 12 hours, after 12 hours, if the clock shows 11 hours, 58 minutes, it means delta T is minus 2. So negative sign indicates the measured time is less than actual duration. Watch is running slow. So, and how much slow it will run? One day if it loses certain time, next day also it will lose same amount of time, delta T. Okay, so let's see some simple application of the same. If pendulum clock loses 12 seconds a day, if temperature is 40 degree, we conduct an experiment in 40 degree, we find when it has lost 12 seconds, and at 20 degree, it gains 4 seconds. So why it is one temperature is gaining and one temperature is losing? So one of the temperature is higher than is when does it loses time? When temperature is higher than calibration temperature, and it gains time when the temperature is lower than calibration temperature. So what we need to find here, this also is very simple question, temperature at which the clock will show correct time. So there's some temperature here at which it shows correct time. And then what is the coefficient of linear expansion? And okay, and what is the temperature? That was the question. We need to find the temperature, and the way the question was given, at what temperature shows the correct timing. If you can calculate the temperature, there was no need to calculate coefficient of linear expansion. Let's understand here. So again, we write what is delta T by T is equal to minus delta T by T. This I write only for understanding, and T is equal to, okay, basically always keep in mind, because if you don't remember the formula, what we should keep in mind, T is equal to 2 pi root by G, and from here, sorry. Okay, so every time I look at the curve formula, do we need to remember anything? No, only thing what we need to remember, measured time is proportional to 1 by time period, similar to scale. And second thing we needed, T is equal to 2 pi root L by G. If I remember this very easily, I can calculate delta T by T is equal to 1 by 2 delta L by L, and delta L by is equal to 1 by 2 alpha delta theta. That's what you need to know. And delta T by T is equal to minus delta T by T is equal to minus 1 by 2 alpha delta theta. So it's not a derivation. It's just something if you understand this, and this can be done in about 10 seconds. That's why no need to memorize anything, but you need to understand what does this signify. So let's understand here. So what we understand from here, loss of time, delta T. Delta T is directly proportional to delta theta. What is changing here in this question, what I need to understand here is given relationship between this and this. Okay. So loss or gain in time, delta T is positive, it is gaining time, and delta T being negative, it is losing time. So basically it is based on the first question. If it shows correct time at temperature theta here. First case, the second is proportional to 40 minus theta. The seconds is proportional to 40 minus theta, and second case 4 seconds is proportional to theta minus 20. Theta is in between. That's what, if you understand this much part, that's enough. So loss or gain of time in a day is proportional to deviation from calibration temperature. Okay. So I could have written this expression if I have to write here. So first case, per second is proportional to 40 minus theta, and in terms of magnitude, 4 seconds is proportional to theta minus 20. I find value of theta from here extremely easy. So if I divide first equation by second equation, constant of proportionality, or you could have written this also, doesn't matter. And if you designed with this is equal to 3 is equal to 40 minus theta by theta minus 20. Or somebody can even, I think if you look at the question, actually you can do it in mind also. It is so simple. Okay, let's look at some more variation of the question. A zinc rod, when measured with brass scale, which is at 30 degree, appears to be 1 meter long. Now, at which temperature do we get the exact reading? We get exact reading only at a calibration temperature. Calibration temperature is when the marking was done, temperature at which the marking of scale was done. If the scale is correct at 0 degree centigrade, what this sentence mean? It means calibration temperature of this scale is 0 degree. So whatever reading it shows, it is correct at only 0 degree. Any temperature other than 0 degree, the readings are not correct. So if a reading is taken in, so that's what it means. So what is the true length of the zinc rod at 0 degree centigrade? If that's what you need to calculate, and what are things which are given? Things involved. What is object being measured? Zinc rod. And what is scale made of? Is of brass. And as the temperature, both of them will change. Length of the scale also will change. Length of the object measured also will change. This is okay. So let's understand here. Whenever we measure a length, measure length is equal to actual length divided by actual length of one division of the scale, which is equal to 1 plus alpha s into delta theta. Alpha s is for what? Coefficient of linear expansion of the material of the scale here. The scale is made of the brass here. So this is for brass. And delta T is variation from the calibration temperature. If the calibration temperature is 0, if I measure 30 degree, I need to put 30 here. So 1 mm will not remain 1 mm. 1 mm has become longer, and hence the measured distance will be shorter. Okay, so when it measures 100 mm, I'm just substituting the values here. When you measure, this is measured value. What is given? 100 centimeter, 1 meter long. I put in centimeter. The options also given centimeter. This is measured length, and this length is not the actual one. What is L30 I've written? L30 is the true length or actual length of the zinc rod at 30 degree. The true length also will vary on based on temperature. Divided by 1 plus 30 into alpha of brass. One division of brass scale. And here, what is L30 here? The length of zinc rod at 30 degrees centigrade. We want to find what is the true length of zinc rod at 0 degree. If 0 degree, so hence from here, what we get here, we get L30. So we get the true length of rod at 30 degree. And if I have to find not at 0 degree, I have to find what is the true length of the zinc rod at 0 degree. So how do we find at 0 degree? The length of the rod at 0 degree and 30 degree are related. Length at 0 degree will be equal to length at 30 degree plus 1 minus alpha into change in temperature. Change in temperature is 1 plus alpha into change in temperature. Here, change in temperature, L0 is a negative 30 degree. That's a minus 30 into alpha z, z is coefficient of linear expansion of zinc. So let's put these values here. We need to find L naught. I have its true length at 30 degree. If I had true length 30 degree, I can find it 0 degree also. So I have substituted L naught here. Sorry, L30 here. L30 is this term here. This is length at 30 degree. And this is this term we multiply. And if we multiply, this is when we multiply these two figures, it will become negligibly small. So when we open this bracket here, multiplication of these two terms can be ignored. It will become 1 plus this term plus this term. It will become something like this. It becomes 1 plus 30 into alpha b minus alpha z. That's the length of the zinc at 0 degree centigrade. Okay. So I'll stop here, and I think I'll go through what we have done so far and revise this part, and we'll continue from here. I think some few more things are remaining in thermal expansion, which we'll do in the next session.